Hey, how's going on? In today's project, we're going to create a countdown timer in React.js using React hooks like useState and useEffect. This is also going to be the version 2 of the countdown timer. I'm going to leave the very first version down in the description below. But I get constant new comments on that if I could do this in another way. Also, if I could upgrade the code. So here it is, the upgraded version 2 of the countdown timer. What is upgraded in this? Well, you can add your time within the application. So first of all, let me install React, and until that happens, also you should do the same thing. So let's just npx create -react-app and space and dot, because I'm going to create it, install it in the same folder. So hit enter, and in the meantime, let's take a look at the application. So as I said, you can create a countdown timer. It's going to count down from hours. You can type in here 1 minutes. Let's also do a 1 seconds. Let's do 10 seconds and also milliseconds, but I'm not going to do that. In order to start a timer, you need to press play. If you click on play, then the play button will turn into a pause button. You can pause the timer anytime you want. You can continue on playing by pressing then the play button. Also, when the timer is done, I'm just going to stop it for now. And I'm going to change this to 3 seconds. When the timer is done, then you're going to then a title will be displayed, Happy Coding in 2023. This being my very first project of 2023, so hope you're going to enjoy it. Also, for suggestions for videos for 2023, please leave the comments down in the comment section below. One last thing I want to show you, you cannot just start the application by pressing play. You need to add time. If I would add 3 seconds again and press play again, then the title here will disappear and the time will start again. Also the same thing, if I would click on stop, this is going to reset everything. So we're going to use the following hooks. We're going to use useState and useEffect. We are going to create a component. This is the timer component. This is going to contain, underneath is going to contain 3 buttons. Each of them going to be shown in different situations. Also, we're going to use React icons, and we're going to use style components. So this right here is styled using style components. We need to install style components. The rest of it, the buttons, so far and so on, is styled using a CSS file. Please download the CSS file and copy it within your project. So just pause the video here. The link is down in the description below. Copy the CSS file, drop it in your project here, and you can start coding. Now, I do have a much larger CSS file, so please don't be scared when I'm going to copy that one in. You don't need everything that is in there. Okay, so let's get started. I'm going to make this smaller. This was the presentation of the project. I'm going to go into source. You can leave everything in here if you wish so. But I would suggest to delete app, index CSS, logo, report, setup. It's going to break your project, but we're going to fix it just in a couple of seconds. So in your app, you just need to, so in your app CSS, just please copy and paste, overwrite the content of the CSS file. Okay, next up, I'm going to go into app. I'm going to delete everything that is in here. I'm going to only return the app. Hit save. We don't have any kind of logo anymore. Hit save. Go into index and delete from here this and also this. And I think we're good to go. Let me just check index CSS. We also can delete this. Okay, hit start, and now you can npm start in order to start our application. I'm also going to make my face a bit smaller. Okay, so you should see a blank page. Let's type into the app h1. Oh, if Emmet is not showing, then click on React.js and type in React. So from down here in your language selector, and now it should work. h1, and I'm going to create here the class. So I'm going to use our classes that are in the CSS file of title and then text. I'm going to do this a bit later on. And let's just type in the text here. Happy coding in 2023. Okay, and this should appear here. Right, now let's create our components. So we're going to create a new folder in our source file called components. And I'm going to create 2 components here. First of all, let's take care of our most important component, which is the countdown timer and the application itself. So countdown timer and JSX. And let's do a RFC, React Functional Component. It's going to return the countdown timer. I'm going to now take from my app the h1, cut it out, paste it in here, and bring in our countdown timer. as a component into our app. So app countdown timer, they should automatically bring it in. If not, you just need to import countdown timer from components and then countdown timer. Now you should still see the same thing, but this is now coming from your countdown timer component. So let's go to our countdown timer and let's start creating here our states, which will be used in order to create a countdown timer. I'm going to import up here right after React, comma, curly brackets. I'm going to import useState, which is going to help us change the state of this component. Now, this component is going to have the following states. It's going to have, first of all, the first state const, and we're going to have hours. Maybe I'm going to add days to this later on. Then set hours is going to be assigned to useState, and I'm going to set this to 0 as a default state. Now I'm going to copy this. I'm going to change the first one to minutes, and then set minutes, and the next one is going to be seconds and set seconds. Set and seconds. Now the last thing that we need is milliseconds, and we got our time. So I'm going to change this to milliseconds and also set milliseconds. Wait a second. So milliseconds and also set milliseconds. Milliseconds. Okay, now the last thing that I need to have here is a state for is the countdown timer running or not. So I'm going to also create this. This is going to check if the timer is running, if the timer is paused, or if the timer is stopped. So let's assign this to is running, and also we need our setter. So set is and running, and let's assign it to useState, and this is going to be false, or I will also assign it to null as default. I'm going to interchange this just a bit later on. So we don't need you. Now in order to verify if the timer is running, we're going to use here useEffect. Let's also bring in useEffect. Let's go up, useEffect. Within useEffect, we're going to initiate a let interval, a variable. And now we're going to condition, so if is running is true, and yes, you do need this resetter here, so just wait a couple of seconds. I'm going to explain what we're going to do with it. And now back to our conditioning. So if is running is true, then the first thing it's going to do is going to take our interval, and we're going to assign it to a set interval callback function here. And then down here, we're just going to reset it by clearing our interval and passing in the interval. Okay, so this is going to set the interval, and this is going to stop the interval then. How can we set the interval? First of all, we need to check if the milliseconds are greater than 0. Then we're going to set milliseconds to milliseconds. We pass this into an arrow function, and we're going to subtract from millisecond minus 1. It's asking me for an interval. We're also going to watch for the change in milliseconds. And now we're going to start to repeat this procedure for each time event. The next one will be now seconds. So if milliseconds is not greater than 0, then else if maybe seconds is greater than 0. And the same thing, we're going to take our seconds, we're going to set our seconds by passing into an arrow function the seconds and subtracting from the seconds minus 1. But we're not done yet. We're going to also set our milliseconds now to as many milliseconds as there are in 1 second, and that is 99. Next, we're going to repeat the same procedure for minutes. So else if minutes is greater than 0. And now I'm going to copy this, pass it down here, change this to set minutes, and change these two to minutes. Okay, I'm going to leave the seconds as it is, but I'm going to change now set seconds to as many seconds as they are in 1 minute, but I'm going to go with 59 and not 60 because the 60 seconds is 1 minute already. And you guessed it, the last thing that we need to do is to add hours. Hours, if it's greater than 0, then set hours. So set hours, and it's going to change these two to hours and subtract hours from it. And also we're going to add here set minutes, and you guessed it, we're going to add 59 minutes to it. Okay, so we're done with our useEffect. useEffect, as you know, will start as soon as the application starts. Now we need to pass everything down. Oh, and I forgot, you should pass them all in here. Seconds, minutes, and then hours. and also is running. So all of these changes will be watched for and influenced in our useEffect. And one next thing, the interval, because we're using milliseconds, will change down here, so comma, every millisecond, so basically 10. So next up, let's create our component, which is the timer that you saw in our finished project. So we're going to create in components a timer.jsx component, RFC. And now I'm going to open up a new terminal, go down here, open up a new terminal, and let's npm I for install react-icons, enter. Then check your package.json file. They should install this in a couple of seconds. Where do we have it? Didn't install it. Wait just a second. Not found. It's not the registration. Just try this again. So npm install react-icons. I think I mistyped. Yeah, I mistyped it. Okay. So there we go. We have our React icons. And next, I also want you to install npm I React, we just styled components. And we should also get style components here. Okay. So these two dependencies are needed in order to proceed now in our timer. We can close up the package.json. Okay, from here we're going to import our very first icon from React icons, which is going to be the bs stop. Oh, and also /bs because we're using our bootstrap library. Now we're going to look for stopwatch, and yeah, this one is it. Okay, let's also bring it in here, and let's also bring in our timer into a countdown timer. So let's go back to, I'm going to make this smaller again. Let's go back into a countdown timer and import timer from, because actually here, timer. And let's use a timer down here after the title. So here, timer as a component, and there we go. We should see here our timer. Now let's go back to the timer. Let's, instead of having this timer, let's bring in here bs stopwatch. And also close it up. You should see a stopwatch icon, small little stopwatch icon. After our stopwatch icon, we're going to create a d-flex class and dot another class of flex and column. Hit enter, and within here we're going to have a label, and I don't need the HTML4, but the label is going to be for HH, meaning hours. Then we're going to have an input tag. You don't necessarily need to leave the type in there. The type will be automatically text if you leave it empty. And I'm going to pass in here a value. I'm going to set it for now to 0. And that's basically it, because we're going to repeat this process 3 more times. So let's copy it. 1, 2, 3. That's it. Let's replace the second one with for minutes. Then the third one with SS for seconds. And MS for milliseconds, the very last one. Okay, now did want to do this very quickly because now we can use our style components. So next up, let's use style components. Let's bring in style components. We're going to import styled from style components. And instead of having this div, we're going to replace this with a, first of all, create here our style component, const, and we're going to call this timer wrapper. Okay, we're going to assign this to styled and dot div. Okay, now within backticks, we can start styling our style component and also passing this now, instead of this div, down here, wrapping around everything. Basically just a quick demonstration. If I want to push this margin top 35, no wait, 30 viewport heights, then you can see this taking effect. Basically, this is now using the same syntax as CSS, styling our component. So let's go ahead and style our component. Whoops, I just opened up. Basically, I'm going to close both of them. We don't need our app CSS, we don't need our app.js, we don't need our index.js. We just need these two and this right to the right side. So let's continue on styling our component. Let's add to this a width of 600 pixels. There we go. Let's go down here underneath our width. I also want to center it, so margin, let's go margin left of auto, and also margin to the right of also auto. Let's add a background color to this of hash, and let's go with a 222. It's completely dark. Now, of course, we can change the color. Maybe I should change the color of the labels later on. Let's just change it here. So E for all of the colors. Let's set a border radius of 5 pixels. Let's change the display of this. So let's display this as flex. I'm going to align items to the center. Okay, there we go. And also justify the content center. Let's set a box shadow of 5 pixels, 4 pixels, 6 pixels, and a RGBA of, let's go back in here, 0, 0, 0, and 0.4. And that's it. Now, last thing I want to add to this is a padding to top and bottom of 1 rem and left and right 0. Let's see. Whoa, did I just delete everything? Yes, I did. And there we go. We're done with this part. Now, remaining within here, let's say that if this has a class of stop-watch, which we're going to add later on, then we're going to increase the font size. Actually, not later on, but you can add it right now to the icon. So stopwatch will be the class of this icon right here. So class name, and pass in the icon here. And let's increase the font size now to 5 rem. Oh, wait, it was 6 rem. Sorry about that. So 6 rem, it's a bit small right now because the input tags are pushing it together. Just wait a couple of seconds. We're also going to take care of the input tags. And let's add a margin to the right of 1 rem. Okay, now it's even smaller. This is happening because it is reacting to the actual size of how much space it has. So as I said, let's take care of everything else. Let's, for example, grab onto our label tags. Woo, label. And let's give them a margin to the bottom of 0.5 rem. What am I doing? Not auto, 0.5 rem. And next, let's take care of our input tags. So all of the input tags, input, let's first of all change their width. So width 100 pixels. Now you can add a margin to the right of each of them of 1 rem. And let's quickly add something here before I forget it. So let's also input, and if we hover over one of the inputs, I want the background color to change to hash 928F8F. Okay, so this is a gray color, so if I hover over them, it's going to signify that I could change something in there. Okay, now let's go back to our input tags. Let's change the color, so display color of the input tags, not columns, color. We're going to change this to a hash of 282C34. Now let's take out the outline, set it to none. Let's take out the margin, not the margin, the border. Let's also set this one to none. Now let's increase the font size of them to 4.5 rem and the font weight to 600. Now because I don't like the alignment, let's do a text align of center. And let's add a bit of padding. So padding 0 top and bottom and 0.5 rem left and right. In order to have the same border radius of the input tags as we have here, let's do a border radius of 5 pixels. And that's it. Okay, so there's our timer. And that's basically it. We're done styling our timer. Now let's actually do something with it. So next up, let's go back to our countdown timer. And we need to pass down the states to our timer. So I'm going to pass down here, actually everything that is in here. Milliseconds, seconds, hours, not is running. We don't need that. I'm going to take care of this just in a couple of seconds. I'm going to copy this again, go into our timer and pass it in here as props and also the commas. Milliseconds, hours. We're also going to change the states of them. So let's first of all, hours will be the value of hours. Then we're going to have minutes here in the value of minutes. Seconds, this is going to throw you an error just if you hit save. You're going to see an error just in a couple of seconds. And then value, and then the last value will be milliseconds. And now we need to add on change events on that to them. So on change, the first one's going to change. Actually, the last one I don't care about it. I'm going to cut this out. I don't care about changing the milliseconds. What I do care is changing the seconds. So change seconds. I'm going to pass it up here now as a prop. Then I'm going to copy this, go up to our minutes, paste it in here. Let's say change minutes, copy it, pass it in as a prop, copy it on change again, and change hours. Change hours. Let's copy change hours and pass it in here. Okay, so these 4 events can be now changed in within here. You see, I can already change the values of them. Okay, let's go back to our countdown timer. They're all set to true now for whatever reason. Yes, because they exist. So now we're going to, because these are props, we need to assign the state to them. Basically going to assign to this milliseconds, we're going to assign to this seconds, and for the next one we're going to assign minutes, and obviously the hour will be hours. Now let's also take care of the handlers. I'm going to go up here right before the return, type in a comment handlers, and we're going to just going to copy them out of here. So change, paste them in here, const, change seconds, and the very first one is going to set the seconds to e dot, also this is going to take in a event, e dot target dot value, and we just need to repeat this with const, you should be an arrow function. What am I doing? I'm so sloppy today. Now I'm going to copy this, hold down options here and here, add a const, go over a comma, hold down option, wait here, hold down option, go over the comma, hold down option, go over this comma, and paste it in here. And now we're going to change here, set minutes. We're going to set here hours. Okay, simple as that. We have our handlers here, which we now need to pass in here as change seconds will now change seconds, will change seconds. Then we're going to change minutes, copy this, and change hours. And select both of them, change hours. Okay, so this should now work. 1, 2, okay, perfect. So next up, let's add a couple of buttons down here. As you can see, we can't interact with anything. So let's go underneath our timer. Let's add here break tag, and let's start with the condition. So if is running is not true, then we will need our play button. So I'm going to wrap this into parentheses, going to use the button tag button, and let's give this the class of btn. First one was accept, and then btn dash, so btn dash lg, because I need a large button. There's a very first button is going to be start, but now let's import bootstrap icons again. So let's go up, right after timer. Let's import and open and close curly brackets from react icons / bs library. We're going to import the bs fill, play, and fill, then comma bs pause and fill. So bs pause fill, and also we need bs stop and fill. Okay, so these three. Now let's copy the very first one and add it right within here. And there we go, there's our play button. Now let me add another condition. The next condition will be if it is true, so if it is running, then we're going to have here a pause, which is going to have a warning, class, and then this is going to be bs pause fill. And of course, our next button, which is going to not be conditioned, is going to be the stop button. It's going to be then danger, the class first of all, danger, and you should be bs stop. And there we go. So we got everything that we need to stop, to play, stop, and pause our application. Now let's also add the on-click event. So the very first one, the play button, should have a on-click event that is going to start, obviously, start the timer. So how can we start the timer? Well, let's go up here and let's create our very first function. So these are going to be start, pause, and stop functions. So first function, start the timer. And this is going to be conditions, so it's not like we could just start the timer. We need to check if our hours are not equal to 0, or the minutes are not equal to 0, or the seconds are also not equal to 0, or the milliseconds are not equal to 0. Only then the set is running will be now set to true. And when this is true, then the application should run. Remember, we're watching here for is running. And if it is running, then this timer will start. Now else, so if those conditions are not fulfilled, or even one of them is not fulfilled, then we're going to window.alert. I'm going to alert the message of add time. Oops. And there we go. So let's start by clicking on play, and this is alert add time. Let's start by, now let's add some time. Let's add 10 seconds, hit play, and this should start the countdown timer. Woo! Very good. So we have a countdown timer started, but we cannot pause it. Oops, and also the warning, this class. Okay, now it's correct. Now we should also pause the application. Well, it's pretty simple. We're just going to go up here. So the very first one was start, and then I'm going to have another one. It's going to be pause. So function, let me scroll down a bit, pause timer, and this will just simply take our set is running and set it to false. Simple as that. Now let's add this pause timer down here to our pause button. So on click, we're going to pause the timer. So let's try this out. Let's add 3 seconds and pause it. Okay, play it again, pause, play, pause, play, pause. Okay, that's it. And we need to add time now. Great. So how can we now stop the timer? Well, again, let's go up here. Let me just add now the on-click event. Don't have to come down here again. Let's change it to stop. Let's go up here, type in a comment, stop, and function, and let's paste it in, stop. And this function will actually call upon another function, which is going to be reset timer. Now, why am I doing this? Well, first of all, I'm going to use this reset timer later on to do something else, to display me the title. So let's reset the timer. Let's create here the function reset timer, which is going to set is running to false, and it's also going to reset all of our values here. So it's going to set milliseconds to 0. I'm just going to copy this. Set seconds to 0, set minutes to 0, and also set hours to 0. Okay, so let's try this out. Add here 5 seconds or 4, press play, and then stop it. You can see it resets everything. It also stops the timer, but also resets all of our values. Let's try this again. Let's add 10, play, pause, play, stop, and it's resetting. Okay, so our application is perfectly running, but now I want, when the timer runs out of time, to actually display this title right here, Happy Coding in 2023. So let's go up to the top and let's create another state. It's going to be end of time. Catchy name. Okay, let's create here const. This is going to contain a object as a state. So we're going to have a show end screen and also set show end screen. Now, as I said, I'm going to set this to useState, but I'm going to pass in here an object because it's going to have two values, key value pairs. It's going to have, first of all, a show. It's going to be set to false, and then it's going to the boolean of false, and then it's going to have a message, which is going to be, well, first of all, I misspelled here false. The message will be, well, this message right here, this H1. So instead of having it like this, I'm going to cut this out. You can obviously change the message then. So if show end screen is true, then show me this message. And once again, I'm going to copy this out, cut it out, and pass in here from show message, or show end screen, going to pass in here the message. And this show end screen will have our show property. So if show is true from show end screen, then the title will be displayed. If not, then, well, obviously not. So let's pass the message up here as a message, as a string, of course. And there we go. So it's set to false, is no longer showing. If I would change the state here to just true, then it's going to show the message. But this state should only be changed when the timer comes to 0. In order to do this, we're going to go back to our useEffect again, and before we return and clear our interval, we're going to ask for another condition. And for this condition, I'm basically going to copy this condition right here and change our negations to verifications. So if all of them are true, then set show on screen. And now I'm going to update here the object by using the spread operator, show end screen, because the message will not change. It's just going to be copied again, but show will be set to true. Now, one last thing I want to say here is always showing. This is because I set everything to 0. So I will change this milliseconds to 1. Now it should disappear. Oh yeah, wait just a second, you need to refresh because the state is now the state is now in there. And also we need to add this show end screen down in the conditioning and dot show, you know, for watch for the change in that end screen. Oh, because I have this ors, sorry, let's select them all and this should be ends, because all of these conditions need to be true in order for the message to be shown. So let's do here refresh, and now it should be gone. Let's try this out. If I would add here, let's say 2 seconds, hit play, then boom, the message will be shown. Now, how can we restart everything? Well, let's also add here our reset. So reset timer, the function. This will reset everything, also set is running to false, which will basically re-render this pause button. So let's try this again. You can see now it's re-rendered to play and the pause button is gone. Let me do here refresh. Let's just do 1 second. Play. This is shown. The play button is re-rendered to play, and also they are all re-rendered to 0 because this could end in 1. Now let's go furthermore down to our start, and also here update the state. Basically, when we are restarting the application, we are setting our end screen to false again. Okay, so if I would restart from here to 1 second, then it's going to hide the title and only show it when the application ended. Now also on our stop button, you should do the same thing. So let's copy this again, go down to stop, paste it in, and now if I click on stop, it should also disappear. The title should disappear. Now let's also make it similar to our previous project, which did have for the body color. So let's go up here before export. Let's do a document.body.style and .background, and let's assign this to a hexadecimal number of 282 and C34. Okay, we're going to have this dark color, and now we can also go back to down to our title and add here a text dash light. This should make our text now appear in a white form. Okay, everyone, hope you enjoyed this project. Let me make this larger again. Set here 20 seconds, and let's see if we can manage it in 20 seconds. So I hope you enjoyed the project, and if you did, please give it a like. If you didn't, dislike this. If you have any kind of questions about this video, about this project, or suggestions for future videos, please leave them in the comment section below. Also follow me on social, links are down in the description below. I'm really active on Twitter. Check out my blog. The entire code is actually on my blog. All of the codes for all of the projects are on my blog. Also check out any kind of courses I have on my blog. They're excellent. I have courses on React, on HTML, CSS, JavaScript, Visual Studio Code, everything. So if you want to support this channel, please check them out, and please stay subscribed and click that notification bell in order to get notified whenever I post new videos like this. With this being said, I wish everyone a wonderful Happy New Year, Happy 2023, and catch you next time. Bye-bye.